Okay, so now what we're going to go into is this thing called nerve plexuses and peripheral nerves. Okay, so this is showing the bones of the vertebral column here. Inside is going to be the spinal cord and that hole in the bone. And then here you see a ventral ramus coming out of that spinal cord, okay, and out of that encased region. So in looking at plexuses, we're getting further away from the spinal cord, okay? So what I want you to notice, and what a plexus is here is a ventral ramus. We can see it's coming out at the 6th cervical nerve, and that's C5, the 5th cervical spinal nerve. And here is C6, so the 6th cervical spinal nerve. So here's another ventral ramus, and you notice all of a sudden they fuse. Their fibers begin to blend together. And so this is going to be what a plexus is. We're having these fusing of these ventral rami. Okay, now you notice some fuse here, and they form what's called a trunk. And then look here, this trunk splits, and that gives us divisions. But then look, these divisions are going to fuse with other fibers above and below it to form in blue the cords. Okay? And then finally they're going to split, okay, and continue on as individual peripheral nerves. Okay? So we've got ventral rami, they fuse. Okay, we can see a fusion here. They fuse to form trunks. Those split to form divisions. They fuse again in a different order to form cords. And finally, they're going to split to form individual nerves that travel out to the periphery. So that is what a plexus is. Now we find plexuses at different locations. Okay, the first location that we can see it at, or the most superior location, is the cervical plexus. So over here we've got the fusion of the ventral rami here. We then have the brachial plexus fusing here, and then eventually sending out individual nerves into the upper limb. We've got the lumbar plexus in this region, and then the sacral plexus down most inferior. Okay, and you can see that lumbar plexus fusion here and the sacral plexus fusion over in this location. Notice that there is no plexus in the thoracic region. Those just have individual ventral rami coming out, and there's no fusion with one another. So there is no thoracic plexus. It doesn't exist. On your homework, it actually shows you which ventral rami fuse, so C1 through C5, C5 through C8, and then T1. Here we've got lumbar plexus is T12 through L4, and then sacral plexus is L4 through S4. So you should know these. I also want to talk briefly about this concept of dermatome, which is that you could, every region of the skin is innervated, that means a nerve supplies it, by a specific spinal cord, or a spinal nerve. Okay? So this region of the arm right here is actually supplied by C6. So if somebody loses feeling in this region, then that means they probably have damage to, or it's likely they may have damage to that spinal nerve. That would be one thing your doctor should check out. So you can actually map the entire skin of the body with, this is shown the anterior side, this is the posterior side, with which spinal nerve supplies that region of the skin. This is important too. It turns out if you get chickenpox whenever you're younger, that virus can travel, say, from your heel all the way up to the S2 dorsal root ganglion and hang out there for years. And then under the right stress conditions, that virus can come back out and infect this whole swath of skin, and that's when we call it shingles, and it causes a lot of blisters. It's very painful. And so through dermatomes and knowing this map, we can actually tell exactly which nerve has that virus been hanging out in. So that is the concept of dermatomes. So here's some exercises down here to help you practice learning your plexuses.